further, I must say that I have received a request from the Honorable Mikilaikis to allow him to ask a question to the President on the Zimbabwean military coup. This request is dated the 16th of November 2017. Honorable Mikilaikis has asked me to exercise my discretion in terms of Rule 242, Sub 1. Rule 242 requires any member who wants to ask a question to give notice thereof. It further prohibits a question for oral reply to be asked on the day on which notice thereof is given. Honorable Mikilaikis' question is clearly in contravention of this rule, and that is why he has asked me to consent to him asking this one. He has, however, not requested me to seek the House to dispense with or suspend this provision, nor have I received from the Honorable Chief Whip of this House any request to suspend or dispense of this rule. In my view, therefore, what Honorable Mikilaikis has requested the House to dispense with or suspend can therefore not be granted in this sitting. I would want to invite the Honorable Mikilaikis, however, to avail himself to the other opportunities to pursue this question in whichever other form he wishes to do, but not to pursue it today, because in terms of Rule 2464, no more than 6 questions can be put to a member of the executive, and we already have 6 questions for today. I hope that this will be adequate to address this matter for today. Honorable members, we shall now proceed to our questions as printed on the question paper. The President shall take the podium. Are you comfortable to answer from there, Mr. President, or do you want to take the podium? Thank you, sir. Please take the podium. Thank you. Honorable members, Mr. President, your first question is the one that was put to you by the Honorable Mohai. It is question number 1, Mr. President.
Honorable Chairperson, manufacturing forms the backbone of our economy. It is an integral element in addressing some of the challenges facing our country. Collaboration with BRICS countries on manufacturing is ongoing and includes inward foreign direct investment and outward export promotion of South African products, trade relations and technical cooperation, including training programs. The manufacturing sectors of both India and China continue to be key drivers of broader economic and industrial growth in the global economy. South Africa benefits considerably from the export of primary commodities and intermediate goods to both of these economic powerhouses and other BRICS members. We are keen to further promote foreign direct investment, particularly from manufacturing companies in BRICS member states. Significant progress has been registered in this regard, and a good example is the significant investments made by Chinese companies into the automotive sector, which are estimated to be in the region of 8 billion rand. We have been engaging our BRICS think tank council in order to identify concrete areas of cooperation that we can take forward during the BRICS presidency in 2018. A BRICS network of smart manufacturing hubs has been recommended, which will pool together knowledge, technology, and new ideas on the identification of new and interconnected value chains. We will indeed seek to implement the declaration as it relates to the fostering of partnerships for cooperation in information and communications technology, hardware, software, and skills through developing the next generation of innovative solutions in the areas of smart cities, healthcare, and energy-efficient devices, amongst others. Enhanced support for the manufacturing sector will be set out in the Industrial Policy Action Plan 2018 to 2019, which will be announced by the Minister of Trade and Industry. We look forward to hosting the BRICS Summit next year, which will enable us to take the cooperation further and also enhance benefits for South Africa. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Mohai.
Madam Chairperson, and I want to thank the President for the response, which covers very critical areas. And would the Honorable President agree that every country has its own unique development needs, and there's a need for policy space for sovereign reasons? And whether the President agrees that this BRICS cooperation will contribute in a big way in terms of emerging black industrialists, who we know for historical reasons, the composition of our economy and participation in the economy has been exclusively white dominated, given our historical past. And I also want to check with the President that this manufacturing, soft manufacturing particularly that he has referred to, will contribute to jobs.
Honorable Mohai,
Thanks.
let me take a point of order. What is the point of order,
Thank you,
sir?
Chairperson. The Chief Whip is asking multiple questions with this follow-up. Thank
Your
you.
point of order is sustained, Chief Whip. You know you've got only one supplementary that you can put to the President. Please conclude. You still have 59 seconds.
That's what I thought was guiding me, that I've got 2 minutes to raise. Thanks, Honorable Chair. I think I have raised my questions, particularly on the significance of manufacturing industry, as the President has alluded to. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. The President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, the cooperation between BRICS member states is absolutely important for the economy of each country, as well as all the countries collectively. But it is also important from the point of view of the global economy. This group in particular, whilst it looks small, but it is, in other words, very big. Firstly, if you look at it, it is the bigger countries in the regions where they are economically who are together in BRICS. And therefore, that, in a sense, influences those regions through these countries. But also, the fact that the majority of the countries that are in BRICS come from the developing world. That means, for the first time, the developing world has a kind of an organization or group that has what it takes to be active in the economy and participate with a different approach to how the economies should be developed. You will recall that the BRICS countries have about half of the world's population, and that is a very huge market in economic terms, absolutely important. Among these, there are very big economies in the world that are part of BRICS. And the fact that BRICS saw it necessary to establish a BRICS bank has been one of the watershed developments in the economic development globally, because it has a different approach, an approach that is user-friendly to developing countries. If the developing countries ask for some support from this bank, they will not be put into further difficulties. The attempt is to help those countries, and therefore, this relationship of our country with BRICS is one of the most important and historic development that has taken place in our country. It is a very noticeable group with many things, whether you look at it politically or you look at it at a level of economy. Indeed, this is an important bloc, and therefore, many of the things that we have been talking about in the past, about how do we make the economies to be inclusive, to address the issues of the poor, this particular grouping believes in that, and we are working towards achieving that objective. So indeed, it is an advantage to be part of the group, and we are looking forward to a lot of successes that this group will bring, not just in its own kind of domain, but in a global setting of economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President. The Honorable Hatton.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. If South Africa's ruralness is taken into account, our economy is currently experiencing elements of all four industrial and pre-industrial revolutions. Now, what is actively being done to accommodate the challenges of the fourth industrial revolution in our economy to ensure that South Africa's industrialization program addresses the required demands that we remain globally competitive, specifically where the fusion of the physical, the digital, and the biological worlds are involved? And if you can kindly provide some examples of progress in this regard. I thank you.
The Honorable the President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Of course, the country, our country, is very much aware of the fourth revolution. We have looked at it as an important window in the life of the economy globally, that the economy is taking another jump. I think the question that is asked by Africa, not just South Africa only, who has been passed by many, whether you talk about first, second, or third industrialization, whether we are going to remain behind with the fourth industrialization. And it is our belief in the continent that all of us have to work hard to be part of the fourth revolution. For an example, there are some of the developments that have taken place which allows countries today to leapfrog in terms of what they do, so that they are part of the fourth industrialization. Of course, South Africa has its own peculiarities, but with all of that, I think some of the economic activities, like technology, we are part of the technological world today, and which is one of the key drivers of fourth industrialization. We are very much aware of it. We are working to ensure that we don't remain behind. So whilst we are dealing with our problems, but we are also part of the world. This is being one of the considerations that all of us in the country are taking care of. And of course, we also believe that the participation of South Africa in BRICS, which has a lot of innovations, helps us to address that question of being part of the fourth industrialization. No where in the world today can we say countries that can remain behind. Some of the reasons why they could not be part of other industrialization like first or second, because these countries were colonized. They were not taking decisions for themselves. Some other countries were taking decisions on their behalf. At times were putting them behind deliberately. But today, it's a question of what do we do? That is why there has been an emphasis that we need the economy that benefits everybody, that looks at all citizens to be capacitated to be part of this kind of industrialization. There should be no citizens left behind because they're unskilled or they are less educated, they are not empowered. That is why the issue of education becomes very important, that all citizens participate in ensuring that we are part of the fourth revolution. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Lund.
Thank you, Honorable President. You expanded a bit about the importance of BRICS and also the potential future role it can play, as you said, representing almost half of the world's population. Now, if we want to be world leaders, we need to be world leaders not just in the economic sphere, but also politically. Now, as a member of BRICS and a potential future world leader, will you support the call for elections in Zimbabwe as soon as possible to ensure the stability of the country? And if not, why not? Because as the chairperson of SADC, it's important for you to assist and provide free and fair elections.
Honorable Lund, I'm going to leave it to the President, but you know that that question is not relevant at all to the supplementary responses that the President has given. Mr. President, if you so wish, you can respond to Honorable Lund.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree, firstly, Zimbabwe is not part of BRICS. And secondly, there are developments in Zimbabwe that are ongoing. I think anyone who makes a very tight conclusion as to what is going to happen in Zimbabwe will be a kind of a politician who does not calculate. because you don't want to speculate. You want to see what is happening and take the appropriate kind of conclusion and decision. And I think it would be too early to take any firm decision now. I'm sure that the situation in Zimbabwe very shortly will be becoming clear. And then those who participate positively in the global affairs will be able then to say what they can say. You know that the president yesterday made a statement on this matter, which was related to the fact that the matters have just begun. So there couldn't be a very firm proposal what must be done, even to understand what is this, where is it going, and also get a briefing either from the people who are involved in it, as well as those who have been in government before. So for now, we can't say we must make a particular call, except the call that let us solve the problems peacefully in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. All the members. Mr. President, that was the last supplementary I had on the first question. But I also have the honor and the pleasure, Mr. President, to announce to my House today that we have been honored with the visit, a return visit from the Marshal and the Deputy Marshal of the Polish Parliament. You are welcome, sir. You are welcome with your delegation. Mr. President, this is tongue-in-cheek, but to strengthen the relationship between these two countries, one of our own members in this House is a son-in-law for Poland. We thank you very much, Honorable Law.
Is that so? Kusho ukuthi osibali laba.
Funeka balethe inkomo. Funeka sise inkomo. Honorable President, I want to move you to the second question. The second question was put to you by the Honorable Lond. It's question number 2, Mr. President.
Honorable Chair, according to Section 91 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996, the President of the Republic has the prerogative to appoint and remove members of Cabinet. I exercise this power after careful consideration. The specific decisions to which you refer are presently the subject of judicial consideration. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Lond.
Honorable President, as you said, it is your prerogative to appoint and remove members of your cabinet. I want to ask you just a straight question. Did you appoint the former Minister of State Security and a loyal lieutenant of yourself, David Mashlobo, to head the Energy Ministry in order to rush through the nuclear deal ahead of the elective conference? And if not, what possible reason could you have had to appoint Minister Mashlobo, given his very limited experience in this field?
Order. Honorable Lond, your principal question was, what were the reasons for his decision to effect the 11th Cabinet reshuffle on the 17th of October? The question, which is supposed to be a supplementary on the response that the President has given you, it's a completely new question. It is now a question on the appointment of one Minister, Mashlobo. Honorable President, it is up to you to respond to it, but it is a new question. I have ruled on the matter.
No, Honorable Speaker, the question of the changing of ministers is a prerogative of the president. There are reasons that is not necessarily to be known by people. If you want to know these questions, you must win elections and have a government so that you can get it to know. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Terra Blanche. Order, members. Order. Order, members. Members, if you want to be one of the 4 supplementaries, you raise your hand in time. I already have my 4 supplementary hands because the members raise their hands very early on. I go on a first hand, first come, first serve. The Honorable Terra Blanche.
Thank you, Chairperson. President, the reshuffling, I'm still dealing with that. Why have you not, sir, released the record of your decision from your latest cabinet reshuffle? Thank you.
The record of what? Sorry?
The record of the cabinet reshuffle. The decision, the record of the decision.
Deputy Ndate Terra Blanche, you are saying why has the president not released the record of his decision?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
For the reshuffle.
I don't know
Order,
what
members.
record. Chair, Madam Chair, I don't know what record do I have that I have not released. Because the decision that I took is a record.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Smith.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Mr. President, does the President intend to either remove Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa or to appoint Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma to his cabinet before the 16th of December 2017 in terms of his powers outlined in Section 91 of the Constitution?
No. Honorable members, no. This is not right. Supplementary questions flow from the response to the question which was posed. Honorable members, please, I know it is nice. Let's keep the president here for the whole day if you wish, but do things according to your rules. Honorable President, I am not going to apply the rules as they should, and that is to disallow any supplementary that does not emanate from the response. I therefore move on to Honorable Faber. Honorable Faber, please ask a supplementary flowing from the response. You are on a point of order. Please take your seat, Honorable Faber. Honorable Julius.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just want to know whether your ruling now implies that the President will not have the discretion to answer the question, even if it's not related. I just want to know
yes,
whether
I will
your
respond
ruling,
to
is
you.
that your ruling?
Don't help the member. Honorable members, order. I have allowed the President, the Deputy President, and the ministers a discretion to respond to even questions which they might find it in the interest of the members to give more information to, even if they did not necessarily flow. In the light of what is happening today, I have taken a ruling that the response, it doesn't matter what you think, Mr. Julius. When I preside here, the ruling goes. Mr. President, you will respond to the response. The rules of this House cover the President. Mr. President, if the supplementary does not flow from what the response was, please heed our call. Don't respond. And that will be a ruling and a precedence I am setting. Yes. Mr. Faber, it is your turn. Honorable Faber.
Thank you, Honourable Chair.
That's fine. Order. You are protected, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Mr. President, as you say, we first have to start winning elections, which we've done. So 2019, watch out, we're on our way. Now, if we look, I'm going to try and put this question in a way.
Order. The speaker is protected.
I will try and put the question in a way that it is very relevant to the first question. And it was, what was David Mashlabu's cozy relationship with the Russian government? Was it central to your decision to reshuffle and appoint him as the Minister of Energy?
What is the question? What is the question?
Mr. President, my question was his cozy relationship with the Russian government central to your decision to reshuffle and appoint him as Minister of Energy?
Honorable Faber, you're making my life uneasy. Can I have somebody else who wishes to place a supplementary question? The Honorable Mikilaikas.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Chairperson, I would like to firstly agree with the President that his reshuffle was a record. Never in the history of pretty much any country in the world has in 2 terms the cabinet been reshuffled for 11 times. So that is a record, Mr. President, but not one I will congratulate you on. Mr. President, this is your last performance in Parliament for this year, so let's try to answer the questions, will we? Mr. President, my question is, you have stated correctly so that the cabinet serves at your pleasure and you can reshuffle the cabinet at your pleasure, which is quite correct. However, there are a few questions, not coming from the media that you like to bash, not coming from the opposition that you like to bash, but coming from the people on the ground, asking questions as to what is the motivation for your last reshuffle. Now, my question would be, as you correctly said, you do not need to give me an explanation, but do you not think that it is in the interest of transparency for you to disclose the reasons for your last cabinet reshuffle? Thank you, Chairperson.
Mr. President.
What is the question exactly? I did not hear.
Honourable Mikilaikas, just the supplementary.
I'm happy to repeat it. Yes, ma'am. My question is, despite the fact that you, as President, do not need to disclose why you reshuffled the cabinet, do you not think it is in the interest of transparency and transparent government for you to indeed make known the reasons for your reshuffle?
Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've answered this question to the previous questions. Thank you.
The Honourable Stock. Honourable members, these Honourable Mikilaikas, Honourable Stock get the chance because the other members did not make use of the supplementary time.
No, thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, for the wonderful opportunity. Because, like you were saying, we could not really get a supplementary which we could post to the
You are
President.
wasting your time too, man.
Thank you very much for that, Honourable Chair. Mr. President, in your response which you have given us, you have actually clearly explained to us the privilege that is being given to the President in line with the Section 84 of the Constitution, which deals with the powers and functions of a president. Now, because of this negative narrative that is actually being peddled from some members of the opposition and some members of the society, which tries to create an impression that every time when the president exercises his privilege in light of the changes in the cabinet, it's a wrong thing to do. or rather, those powers of the president must actually be taken away from the president. So I want to know whether the president have looked at this negative narrative and then also looked at the relevant details that the president or the state can actually embark upon to clarify this negative narrative in the public. And then also, if the president have not looked at that particular...
One supplementary, sir.
Okay, no, thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Well, the negative narrative that is very dominant in this country, I think emanates from a number of things. Firstly, I think there are people who do not necessarily support the ANC as a ruling party. The reason is that the ANC is too big, and secondly, it has very superior policies which people cannot oppose. They can't raise positive issues and alternative policies to the ANC. And therefore, they have embarked on negativity.
Mr. President, please take your seat. Mr. Honorable Mikilaikis.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I'm standing on a point of order.
Yes, what is your point of order?
Madam Chair, the President is somewhat, I don't think deliberately, but somewhat misleading the House. The ANC is not the ruling party. Kings and Queens rule. He might be under the impression that he is ruling. It is the governing party, Madam Chair.
Honorable Mikilaikis. Order. 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 Honorable Mikilaikis, that was not a point of order. Honorable President.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. That's where it emanates from. But just to help the honorable member, even if we have ruled, everybody refers to parties that are in government as ruling parties, not the queens and kings. That's what happens today. So I don't know what type of politics is that one. The other one, of course, it is more prevalent within the opposition parties, because that matter that I'm raising, that people don't have alternative policies, and therefore the best thing they can do is just to produce negativity. At every other thing, whatever you talk, if they ask questions, instead of asking serious political questions, they just come with negativity. That is the reason. That's where the negativity is. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable, order members. Order members. Can we proceed with the business? Order. Order. Honorable Mtetwa, order. I want to proceed to the third question. It is the question put by Honorable Kaula to the President. Mr. President.
Honorable Chairperson, according to Section 91 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996, I have the prerogative to appoint and remove members of cabinet. I exercise this power after careful consideration. Some of the decisions to which you refer are presently the subject of judicial consideration. I thank you.
The Honorable Kaula.
Thanks, Honorable President. I can see you are very difficult today. The former Minister of Finance is credited for his efforts to stabilize the economy. Before the Gordhan saga, the rand was trading at 12.31 rand to the dollar. Today, the rand is trading at 14 rand 37 to the dollar. Former Minister Nzimande is credited for adding 3 new universities to the South African population of universities, Sefako Makgato, Solplaki, and Mpumalanga. African students in universities increased from 49% in 1995 to 72% in 2017. There are other increases, Mr. President. NSFAS increased from 5 billion in 2012 to 14 billion in 2017. Tourism in 2009 contributed 52 billion to the GDP, and it contributed 402 billion in 2016 to the GDP of the country. Now, Mr. President, your decisions defy logic. The value of monitoring and evaluation is nowhere to be found in the decisions that the President took. Can the President explain what is then the value of monitoring and evaluation if decisions taken at presidency defy logic so much?
Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Firstly, there are no decisions that have defied logic. Nothing of that nature. I'm not even sure whether I should answer the question which is not correct in the first instance, because there is no decision that the presidency has taken that has defied logic. There isn't, not a single one. Firstly, as I said, throughout the world, generally reasons why heads of state change ministers, it is their decisions. Very rare that they will say what are the reasons. And how to say the decisions defy logic. It's not true. And secondly, the kind of successes that the honorable member is referring to are government programs' successes. And they come from the manner in which the collective leadership of government works. In the process of that, there could be specific things that would be identified by those who are monitoring. We introduced this policy. It had never existed before, performance monitoring and evaluation, precisely to be able to do a clear supervision of government. That means it is even more easier to identify where the problems are. But it is not only that ministers are removed because they are lazy. That's not necessarily the only reason. There are other reasons that lead to presidents taking decisions. And therefore, to try to find the reason is really looking for a niggle in a prairie. Looking for a niggle in a prairie. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Magwevu.
Mr. Zuma, say you have mentioned section or you've been referring to the provisions of section 91 of the Constitution consistently that you have a prerogative. Now, I accept that. But the prerogative by law must never be exercised arbitrarily. There must be a rationale. So it means, therefore, it must not lack the rationale. Now, I want to take you down the memory lane to show you that you lack the rationale, and I'll tell you why. Because all the appointments that you have made, you have abused that prerogative. Do you remember the case of Menzies Simelane? The court overruled that because he lied in the Fringe-Jinwala Commission. Remember the case of Ngasane, whom you appointed as an NPA and DPP. That was set aside. Now, I put it to you, sir, and I want your response, that all the appointments you have made have been found wanting in the courts of law. That shows the caliber of the man you are. You refuse to make appointments in the interest of South Africans, but you are making appointments in your own interest. And your interests are nothing less but corruption, maladministration, and abuse of power. What is your response?
Mr. President. No, he did put a question in the end. He said, what is the president's response?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, the assertion made by the honourable member not correct. They're absolutely not correct. And therefore, you can't talk about or answer the question that they themselves are not accurate. What he says is talking about the kind of propaganda that is being talked about all over, and he's basing his questions on those kind of questions. We have taken decisions to appoint the people he's talking about. They're not cabinet. He's talking about officers that were appointed at particular sectors of government, wherein there are processes that they're undertaken in order to appoint, and that was challenged by some people, some organizations, and the courts took their decisions. And it does not necessarily mean that if the court take a decision, in some cases, that those decisions are correct. That is why a judge will make a judgment, the higher court will disagree with that judgment. Does not necessarily say all decisions are correct, and therefore it's a debatable issue. We take decisions because we know people. At times we appoint people thinking that they will be able to do the job, and when they're in the job with all the qualifications, but they will not be able to do the job, and you say, I don't think we need to continue. So it's a debatable issue when he finally asks the question. So I'm saying it's not accurate. His assumptions are his assumptions, not necessarily correct assumptions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. My greetings to the President of the country. It takes a sound person, Chair, to understand that when we have developed a plan, you have to come up with people who will be able to implement it. After implementing it, you assess and reorganize your structural arrangement. It takes a sound person. Honorable President, will I be correct to say that the North Gauteng High Court, in the matter between Democratic Alliance and the President of the Republic of South Africa, granted you leave to appeal its judgment, ordering the President to submit the records and reasons of decision to reshuffling Cabinet on the 31st of March? I'm raising this question, Honorable Chair, because the very same members of the party are asking questions in this House. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. President.
And thank you, Madam Chair. It is precisely the answer I gave a while ago, that when people don't know what to say, they do exactly that. They go to court. They also want to ask questions on the same issue. You can see there's fumbling there. They don't know what exactly they need to do. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Smith. Honorable Smith, are you not putting any supplementary? Thank you very much. Honorable Mikilaikas, you had your hand up. You still want to take it? You're forgoing. Thank you very much. Honorable President, we therefore proceed. Honorable Julius, you are taking the last supplementary.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. I just want to tell the President, you know, the DA must go to court because now, but Chairperson, you know, just before I get to my question, you know, today again, the President didn't answer any question. You know, again, we are invited.
Honorable Julius, please take your seat. The Chief Whip.
Madam Chairperson, I want to request that the Speaker withdraw the comment that he made earlier.
Oh, what is it?
Honorable Chief Whip, please take your seat. Honorable Julius made a statement that the DA must go to court because there are no ears. Now, in the parliamentary lingo, there is nothing I can rule out of order. It is not unparliamentary to say there are no ears. So, it is, don't help me, Honorable Magwebu. Continue with your supplementary, sir.
Thank you. The
What
Chief
point
Whip
of
also,
order,
I will not
Medical?
accept.
Honorable Julius, please take your seat. What is your point of order, ma'am?
Thank you, Chairperson. The Honorable Julius said from the beginning of this session, the President did not respond to any question. And we've been here, we've been listening to the President, responding to the questions. So I wanted to rule on that one.
I thank you, Medically. I had also heard that. Honorable members, there's nothing I can rule against. If I say Honorable Julius cannot say, it is his opinion. The President has been responding and giving responses. If a member of this House chooses to put a moral or a qualitative measure on the questions they are receiving, free to do so. But I would be wrong if I said I am ruling the Honorable Julius out when he starts off with this long preambulated preamble of his. He is not out of order, so I want you to continue, say, and put your supplementary.
Thank you, Chairperson. In light of that, with not answering questions, it seems that today we are again invited as the NCOP to a skilpad braai, baie dop min vleis. There's no substance. Chairperson, I noted earlier the response from the President that you have to win elections to get information on what is going on in government. Now, this is exactly the ANC way, keeping voters in the dark and hide behind winning elections. But that is just until you lost, Mr. President. It will come to that. You will not rule until Jesus comes. Let me tell you that. Chairperson, my question. The executive compiles, Mr. President, a performance report which include all performance reviews of all the ministers, which is made public. However, the reports regarding the individual ministers' performance for the year are not made public. This makes true transparency and accountability of the executive basically impossible, because you will never know what minister performed well, what minister didn't do well that year. Would you be willing to release the individual ministers' reports to the public as well as the compiled report? If so, when can we expect this? If not, why not? In the name of transparency, Honorable President. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. President.
Okokuqala nje akanamadlebe lo mfana. Akezwa.
Honorable President, please give me a minute. Honorable Mpombo Shibukweni, your hand is up. The mic, yeah.
Honorable Chairperson, the Honorable President has the rules applied equally on him. The Honorable President is not supposed to call the Honorable Lumfan, say in vernacular. He's supposed to say the Honorable Member, if he doesn't know.
Honorable Mpombo Shibukwana.
The fact, protect me, Chairperson.
You are protected, order, members. Order. 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 You are protected, ma'am.
Can I finish, Honorable
Yes, please.
The Honorable President is supposed to say, Honorable Member. may he withdraw, please, and say so.
Order. Order. Honorable President, please refer to Honorable Julius as Honorable Julius and not Umfana. Please proceed. Honorable Julius, I have ruled that the President must refer to you as Honorable Julius. Honorable members of this House, sometimes you amaze me. I have ruled before, and I have taken a view that you do not do certain things in this House. You rule, you leave people still dignified. I have ruled that the President will refer to the Honorable Julius, not as Umfana, but as the Honorable Member of this House. That's my ruling. Honorable President, please continue. Honorable Lond, whether he's blue or red, he is Honorable Julius in this House. Honorable President, please continue.
Honorable Julius, awuna madlebe. No, firstly, in government, we have the way of measuring the performance of departments. We signed an agreement with ministers, all ministers. We have an agreement. And they report on a quarterly basis the progress taken by all departments. So we have a way of measuring where we know where we are making progress, where we are lacking, and we debate those. So it is there. It is there. I'm talking about members. That's what we do. So for you to think there is no measurement is a mistaken view. We do. We do it in clusters in the main. We also do it on departmental issues. The Performance Monitoring and Evaluation Department does that. Once they give the outcomes, they confirm it or they query it. So there's a very thorough process that is taking place. Once again, once you're in government, you'll get to know what we started. Unfortunately, you will never. To not take time, they'll never. People vote people. Absolutely. People vote people who have policies. They don't just vote noises if you make too much noise. They listen to your policies and programs. So far, the ANC has superior policies and programs that people vote for all the time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. We proceed to question number 4. That is the question put to you by the Honorable Makue.
Honorable Chairperson, the issue of augmenting water storage capacity is recognized as a key issue for climate resilience at the Southern African Development Community regional level. The SADC Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan adopted by the SADC ministers responsible for environment and natural resources at their meeting in Gaborone, Botswana, in November 2015, included water as a key component of the sector-based adaptation strategic interventions. These interventions aim to promote the development of water resources infrastructure, water supply, conservation, as well as related infrastructure development in order to increase the surface storage capacity of the region. South Africa signed the SADC Protocol on environmental management for sustainable development at the 34th SADC Summit held in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, on the 18th of August, 2014. The protocol will come into force once 10 SADC member states have ratified it. The protocol enables, among others, the joint implementation of environmental impact assessment for cross-border infrastructure development, which includes water. This paves the way for faster completion of the projects. The protocol promotes the sustainable utilization and transboundary management of the environment, thereby contributing to the regional industrialization strategy and action plan. With respect to the SADC Infrastructure Master Plan of 2012, our government has been working with the new Partnership for Africa's Development Planning Agency and the African Union in rolling out the priority projects. The NAPAD agency and AU took a decision to consolidate all regional infrastructure master plans into one continental plan called the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa, for short PIDA. 16 priority projects have been identified in the PIDA, which include water and sanitation, information and communications technology, as well as transport and energy infrastructure. These projects are currently in the investor mobilization phase, which was initiated in Dakar, Senegal, in 2014. The Department of Water and Sanitation is currently implementing the water sector projects that were identified in the SADC Regional Infrastructure Development Master Plan. These projects include the Lesotho Highlands Phase 2 and the Fal Gamagara water supply, which is a multiple phase project that seeks to meet the growth of the mining sector, the growth of domestic water requirements, and the supply stock watering to farmers in the Kalahari region of the Northern Cape. The other water project undertaken by the Department of Water and Sanitation, which is part of the SADC Regional Infrastructure Development Master Plan, is the Limpopo Basic Joint Water Monitoring. This project entails the monitoring of the Limpopo River, which is a transboundary river that is shared by Botswana, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. Last year, our government launched the Trade Invest Africa program in the Department of Trade and Industry. It aims to mobilize South African investments to priority infrastructure projects, to prioritize infrastructure projects. These will include priority water projects in the SADC region. All these developments indicate our commitment to realizing infrastructure development not only in South Africa, but on our continent as a whole. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Makuye.
Chairperson, I'm completely overwhelmed with the information by the answer that the President has given. But it teaches me a lesson now. What you get is what you ask for. If you ask a right question, you get a relevant answer. The ANC's position, Honourable Chairperson, is that water is life and water is dignity. We know that when we talk about water, we're talking about people. My question then, Honourable President, through you, Chair, is that the President makes problems to climate change and talks about the mitigating factors. But then I'm worried when we talk about the ratification of the protocol by the 10 member states, because we can't move effectively until that ratification has happened. Mr. President, can you therefore indicate to us how long it will take for that ratification by the 10 member states would be fully endorsed so that we will not have our people suffering because of water shortages within the SADC region? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ntate Makuye. Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, it's going to be very difficult to be precise about when will this happen. The reason is that countries have different regimes in terms of how they process things legally, in particular. Particularly if some of the things, the ratification includes parliament or whatever, it is an accepted kind of time delay, because this is as a result of the agreement of different countries. They must respect, therefore, what happens. But we all agreed that this is an urgent matter. We are hoping that the urgency is going to guide all of us to move as quickly as possible to ratify. It's a matter that everybody is keen that we are able to coordinate the work with regard to water. What we always do is to check when we meet, how far are we? And some countries would say this is either waiting for either parliament or whatever, if it needs parliament. In other countries, other things are ratified by others, not necessarily, because the details of how their protocols or bureaucracy goes is not the same. That is why we are saying all 10, what we are emphasizing here is that before we implement, all 10 countries should, at least 10 countries, should have been able to ratify, which will be then the majority. But we note the point. We'll note the point. We'll also check how far it is going, because as you say, water is life. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mayor Engelbrecht.
Madam Chair, thank you. Mr. President, in terms of the Lesotho Highlands expansion project, it was alleged that LTE Consulting and Construction Company, Car2 Civils, received water and sanitation projects worth more than 4 billion in dodgy deals. The minister allegedly delayed the project for a year to ensure that this company was involved in the project. And Mr. President, you ordered an SIU investigation into why and how a little-known firm of consulting engineers received millions without proper procurement processes being followed. Can, Mr. President, you please tell us how far is this investigation and who was held accountable to date for these corrupt tendencies in the ANC government? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Engelbrecht. The Honourable.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. President, before you respond,
okay.
This question is new. This question that you are posing, Ms. Engelbrecht, picks up on one of the contractors. In his response, the President did not give you a list of contractors. And I said earlier on, I will try and be as strict as possible. So the question you are posing as a supplementary does not flow from the response which was put on that question. And therefore, Mr. President, please do not respond to that. I have to keep to what this House has forced me to do today. The Honourable Dlamini. Honourable Dlamini, take your seat. Honourable Smith, address me.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Just on a point of clarity, because I'm a bit confused now.
Yes.
When we take hands for follow-up questions, it's
Yes.
done in the beginning. So I want to know, how do we take the hands in the beginning of the question if the response need to be after a response? So just a question on that.
I'll be very elementary about this. A member of parliament puts a question to a member of the executive. That member knows the question they have put to the member of the executive. The member of the executive is given the first bite to respond to the member. The member who has put the question is given the first supplementary because it is assumed that their interest is first and foremost on the question and the response they are going to get. The rest of the members are given the right to then follow up on the question, either some of which may have elicited the secondary response from the executive, or if they feel that the owner of the question could have responded to some element of that response. So it actually flows. You develop all your questions, but what you do not do is take the primary question and turn it into a completely new question simply because you extract an element or a name. For instance, this question deals with water, and the President, in his response, makes a response to the Highlands Water Project. He does not say, we have 10 contractors from company X and Y. The honourable member in the supplementary extracts from previous, not from the response, and not from this question, and brings in a new question which is related to the Highlands Water Scheme project. And that is why I am ruling it out of order, because the honourable member, you are at liberty to put your question as a question on its own on this one. So I'm not saying the question is wrong. All I'm saying is that it does not constitute a supplementary question for today. Because as we chair, we are forced to listen to both the questions and to the supplementaries so that we make those. When your supplementary is even close to what it is, most of the time we allow you to slip it in. When it is 10 miles away, it is unfair on the person who must respond to you, because now if there is speculation or you are given responses, I have to now make a lesson on supplementary question. If the response is such that it is not correct, you will come back to this House and say that executive member misled. Whereas you are required to give notice of a question so that when a person comes, an executive member comes into this House, they're well prepared so that there are no room for whatevers and whatevers. And that is why we rule this way. I hope you are satisfied, sir. The Honorable Dlamini, you are now on the supplementary.
Yeah, but I attend my workshops, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Mongameli Imbendulo Yako. And it is really encouraging that SADC decided to do a forward planning in terms of water in the region. You, in your responses, Honorable President, you've indicated that there are a number of projects that you have identified. Amongst the projects that you have identified, you mentioned one that is involving Zimbabwe. Without getting into details, my worry now is that the developments that are happening in Zimbabwe, are they not going to affect the projects that you referred to in terms of water?
Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam
No,
Chair.
Mr. President will respond to one supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Zimbabwe is part of SADC. And indeed, when the agreements were taken, the developments of a few days were not there. But in terms of how states operate, or governments, whatever happens in a country, whether there's elections, there is a new government or whatever, what the country committed itself with other countries or a country cannot be changed. No new government or president would say, now it's me, all the agreements are no longer working. No, they will continue. So our agreements will never be affected by the developments in Zimbabwe. Although, in the manner in which things are happening in Zimbabwe, it seems those who are speaking are correcting things. They are not necessarily saying this government must go. And we don't know the final thing, what will happen at the end. As I'm talking today, the SADC ministers who are involved in what we call, or the organ, responsible, which is a subcommittee of SADC, responsible for peace and security and politics. They are meeting in Botswana, discussing Zimbabwe. So I'm sure by today, because I'm going to Botswana from here, I will get a report how far it is going. So I'm sure in a very short space of time, we will know what is happening in Zimbabwe. But even if there was any change of whatever, these agreements will remain intact. They will not be affected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Mikilakas. Thank you. The Honorable Mpambo Shibukwane.
Thank you for the opportunity, Honorable Chair. Honorable President, I really appreciate your projects that you have implemented. And I want to know from now on until, and ungajigelezi, ngoba into yakho ukujigeleza and beat about the bush. Ungajigelezi.
No. Order. Honorable Mpambo Shibukwane. Order. Order. No. I want to address Honorable Mpambo Shibukwane. Honorable Member, you are out of order. Put your question. It shall be responded to.
Be short. Okay, Honorable Chair. Be short because my question is short and precise. How many projects have you implemented up until now since 2012 to date? The projects.
Order, members. Can I deal with this matter? Honorable Mpambo Shibukwana, are you referring to the questions the 16 priority projects which the President is referring to? Or are you talking about projects in general, because you are not specific?
I think I'm specific, Honorable Chair. I'm referring to what the projects that the Honorable President has alluded to.
In that case, can I help you? Because you said, how many questions have you implemented?
I said,
Yes.
how many projects have you implemented since 2012 up until to date?
That's exactly the point I am at. All the members, English is a very difficult language, but I do know. Order. Honorable Mpambo Sibukwane, the question must be clear. The President says 16 priority projects. Since 2012, they have 20. But when you say how many projects, it means, in my own little understanding, Mr. President, that out of the 16, if I'm right, ma'am, how many projects have they actually been? Yes, yes, because if you don't contextualize it, it is like you are saying, how many projects since 2012? So that is very wide. And that is why I wanted you to confine it.
Honorable Chair, how many projects have been completed, if I can please? Since 2012. Since 2012.
Okay.
Completed is the key word. Completed is the key word, Mr. Honorable President.
Okay. Mr. President, order. Honorable members, the President is quite capable of responding. Let's leave it to the President. Mr. President.
No, Chair. The honorable member says, ungajikelezi. We are not jikeleza amayibuza umbuso. Qala ngokujikeleza. No, I can't remember them offhand right now. How many we have completed? That's a short answer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable Mutla Shuping.
No, thanks, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable President. Without any ambiguity, and for the fact that I've got ears, and those who have not ears could not even listen to responses, I will be very brief and avoid ambiguity. Looking into the SADC programs that we have alluded to and projects, there's a water pipeline in the northwest that runs into Botswana, and people in the Ramotsiri-Muilwa municipality, where the pipeline crosses, do not have water. Is it not in the best interest of our government to provide first water at home? Though we've got a responsibility in SADC, but because our people, I'm not sure when was this pipeline constructed that passes through those communities into Botswana. Is it not in the best interest of our government to supply water first to our people in the country? Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, firstly, if the honorable member could help me, has the pipeline been completed? It is now working. Oh, there are members who can help the member.
Honorable President, clearly that water pipe is not part of the 2012 projects.
Okay.
It is something which was inherited, it's pre-94. It predates, well, the Honorable Elisha used to be the MEC of Public Works, so he would remember. Honorable Hatton, that pipeline predates the 2012 project, and therefore I would say that he is out of order. I want to, Honorable President, question number 5. Question number 5 was put by Honorable Mikulaikas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Chairperson, the matter of the 18 charges is currently before the National Prosecuting Authority, and I am taking legal advice on it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable Mikalakis.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Mr. President, 2 weeks ago, the National Assembly asked you for a full cost breakdown of your legal fees. You were unable to answer. Since then, you've had 16 days to get this information, which is sufficient time for someone in your position to acquire this information. Therefore, Mr. President, how much money have your legal fees cost this country and its people? Thank you.
Honorable Mikalakis, that question, that supplementary, is not at all relevant to the primary question you put to the President. It is not.
Honourable Chairperson, may I address you on that?
You cannot address me on this because I know you know. I move on to Honorable Isaac. Honorable Isaac.
Chairperson, yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Much appreciated indeed. Mr. Zuma, since democracy began in South Africa, we have never, with due respect, had a president who has faced so many court cases in his personal capacity. Okay. This country has never had to fund any president's legal fees for corruption, yet you find yourself in court constantly. You then refused, of course, to tell us how much this has cost the taxpayers, even though you are constitutionally mandated to answer these questions in the House today. So, Madam Chair, with due respect, my question then is, how can you, Mr. President, in your good conscience, continue then to take this money out of our country and out of our people's mouths, where we could be able to give them basic service delivery? Just a frank, honest answer would be great.
Thank you, Mr. Isaac. You have done exactly the same thing as what the Honorable Mikalakis has done. The Honorable Zwane.
Ngiyabonga sihlalo wendlu. Mhlonishwa mongameli. Ngingacela umhlonishwa mongameli ingaciselo. Mayelana nodaba olubekela lwenani lamacala okhulunywa ngawo. Ngoba esikhathini esiningi abezindaba nalabo bamaqembu ke aphikisayo abanenzondo yombuso ophethe bayakwazi ukusakaza izindaba ezingelona iqiniso. Ulwazi olukhona oluthi amacala okhulunywa ngawo ayishumi nesishiyagalombili. Bese kuthi izigatshana ezisukela kulawo macala zibeke amakhulu ayisikhombisa nesishiyagalombili nantathu. Ngifisa ke ukuthola ingaciselo mongameli ngoba ngendlela okubekeke ngayo la kuleli phepha kusengathi khona ukushayisana kwangamabomi olwazi olubeke la. Ngiyabonga. Bajuli.
The Honorable the President.
Ngiyabonga somlomo. Eqinisweni okuyiqiniso ukuthi amacala ayishumi nesishiyagalombili phela nje. Lokho kusuke sekushiwo basuke sebeyihlobisela nje abafisa ukuthi kuthiwe nangu umntwana uyakwambona umuntu onamacala angaka lingathetha iminyaka ngeminyaka phela. Ikhulu nemashuma isishiyagalombili nantathu uyayibona nje lonto. Ilawe ngikhuluma ngawo amacala lawo kukhulunywa ngawo. Lawa amanye basuke sebesho nje. Uyabona ababhali beindaba nabanye abafisa ukuthi bapende abantu nje. Bayazisha izinto noma sekuvela amaqiniso bangayilungisi. Uyabona nje makukhulunywa ngesimo sasenkandla kwavela ukuthi uZuma udle inkulungwane zeyigidi zeyimali zabhala lonke izwe leli. Kwakhethwa ukuthi kuyophenya, kwaphenya izakhiwe ezintathu. Zathola ukuthi akakazadle ngisho uTiki uZuma. Akekho sowake wavela wathi hawu sasizwe kanje noma siyaxolisa sayipenda le ndoda ingonakele. Ngisho okuyena wayefuna impela ukuthola ukuthi kukhona konakele lokuthiwa umvikelo wabantu. Naye wathi akazange adle lutho uZuma. Ezintweni ezazisetshenzwa iminyango eyathi makwakhiwe lokhu nalokhu nalokhu. Kulapho ke ukuthi uZuma mhlawumbe noma engadlanga lutho kodwa zazakhelwa yena lezi zinto uyena ozozizwa noma ozosebenzisa kanye nomndeni wakhe. Kufanele kube khona imali ayikhokhayo.
Honorable President.
Okufanele ukuthi ishiwo noma inani layo libekwe uMinister wamaphoyisa noMinister wezimali. Ayikho nje ukuthi ngoba uyintshontshile le mali.
Inomuntu mengenyawo uHonorable Mpambo Shibukwana. Honorable Mpambo Shibukwana, you.
Honorable, thank you, Honorable Chair. The President is not looking on the Western Cape side, the left-hand side of him. I want to caution the President that the President must stop misleading the country, stop misleading the public protector. From what he said, the public protector found 246 million on the things that were done on Inkandla. The Honorable President must not mislead the country and say in vernacular because our members cannot hear and talk in vernacular.
Please take your seat. Order, members. Order. Honorable Mpambo Sibukwana, you are making an assertion that the President is misleading the House and the public. You can only do that in a substantive motion. Secondly, you start off by saying he's not looking that side. Honorable President, I am going to plead that you look throughout the House.
Ngibuke ngala.
Wonke umuntu ubuke.
Hayi.
Order, members.
Somlomo.
Oh, Honorable President, Honorable Mtimunye, you are on your feet. Another point of order?
Chair, I needed to request you to come back with the ruling with that statement made by Honorable Mpambo Sibukwana.
Which one?
That non-substantive statement that she made.
I have ruled that she must bring a substantive motion on the matter. Order, members. Members. Order. Ngijongile na mama.
Manje mase ngimbheka yena ubheka le. Sengimbhekile ke manje.
Please proceed, Honorable President. Please proceed, Mr. President.
Okuyona nto ebengisho lunga ehloniphekileyo lokuthi bayathanda abantu kusho izinto okungezona. Baze zithi ngoba bayikhuluma njalo zonke insuku zizibonakala ngathi ziyiqiniso. Uyabona nje makuthiwa ukhohlakela uPresident. Bonke uma bezama ukusho ukuthi yini la khohlake bathi inkandla. Waphenywa enkandla izange itholakale leyo nto. Kodwa ngoba abantu namaphepha noma TV babephinda into ababezwe ekuqaleni ngisho sokuphenyiwe abafunanga ukulalela iqiniso. Yingakho ke namanje baye bakhulume ngamacala ayinqwaba. Amacala ilawo ayebekiwe. Amacala angakathethwe enkantolo. Ngoba phela kuzuthi umuntu ngempela ukhohlakele kufanele ukuthi ulahlwe icala. Umthetho wase South Africa uthi uma kusabekwa amacala njengakathethwa umsulwa awusona isigebengu, awenzanga lutho. Alikathethwa icala lasenkandla. Kodwa uzwa abantu bethi makuthi ucorrupt inkandla, ucorrupt inkandla. Ayikho leyo nto. Benza lento ebengisho ekuqaleni uma beswela izinto zokusho bengenamaqiniso bakhuluma yonke inhlobo yento le. Ilokho kokuyisifo esikhulu sala. Sesangenela ama-politician asegida nganje umuntu kufanele ukuthi a-report ukuthi kwi-party yakhe uke wasukuma kangaki eParliament. Kufanele ukuthi acabanga ukuthi oh inkandla abakwethu. Benzela nje ukureport ukuthi no siyasukuma ngoba ayikho into abazosukuma bakhulume ngayo enye abayaziyo. Inkinga nje iyo leyo kuphela. Amacala njengoba ngiwabeka nje njengoba uzwile.
Siyabonga President. The Honorable Lond, order members.
Honorable President, I mean, it is really frustrating having this question and answer session in the House and there's not real accountability on the questions. Many people watching us today know that there's real answers behind these questions, but it seems like you don't want to give the answers to South Africans. But, Honorable President, you said in your first response that you are busy consulting your lawyers regarding the original question that the Honorable Michalakis has put to us. Now, these matters have been dragging on for years and years and years in the court, and taxpayers' money have been used to fund this legal bill. My question to you, Honorable President, is you will not be in the presidency for long. You need to get these charges dealt with. Either clear your name, as you said, you want to have your day in court, or get the necessary responses from whatever, positive or negative. My question to you is, since you want your day in court and since you're not going to be in the presidency for long, by when will you then go to the court so that we can actually have an answer and we don't have to say this is sub judice, we can say whether you are guilty or innocent with a judge's ruling?
Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, the matters are in court for such a long time, not because of me. I'm not responsible. I'm not responsible for that. I've never taken myself to court. I've never. Currently, it is the DA that is taking me to court. You can't take me to court and then complain thereafter. It's just unfair. DA goes to court on everything and therefore cause the money of the taxpayers to be paid in defense of those who are working in government. It's your responsibility, not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility. If you take somebody to court, you must know that somebody must defend the case. And if that somebody by law is working in government and the case is supposed to be arising out of what happened when the person was working, by law, government pays.
Mr. President.
It's not my problem.
Honorable Esak is on his feet. Yes, sir. Honorable Esak.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, with due respect, but then the very president of this country disputes a Chapter 9 institution and his own public protector, and now deceives South Africa by saying it's the court's problem. Why is the president then disputing the public protector's state capture report?
Is that a point of order? If you feel the president is misleading the House or the public, present me with a substantive motion. Thank you very much, Ndate Esak. Mr. President, please conclude your response. Mr. President, conclude.
No, I'd finished my answer.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable Julius, you are the last supplementary.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, seeing that we are with court cases, the last time the President answered questions in this House, the President lied, or let me say the President misrepresented the facts when you said that the public protector did not give you time to respond to the questions, and that's why you interdicted it. You claimed the alta vires rule of law. And then just after that, the public protector came out and she showed us a tape where you and your lawyer were present, where she gave you an opportunity to respond.
Honorable Julius, Honorable Julius, make a supplementary. What you are saying, if we were debating, I would let go. But not in a question session where you are supposed to make a supplementary question and you bring and divert. What is your supplementary question on this question that is before us?
Yes, Honorable Chairperson, earlier you said I can make my preamble for my 2 minutes as I wish. Can I fulfill your wish, please? But Chairperson, let me go to the question of today. Honorable President, if there's not enough money in this country for students, they have to live without it. If there's not enough money for housing, the homeless must live without it. If there's not enough money for health, people must live without it. They must make do, the nurses and the doctors in this country. But for your charges, your legal bills, there seems to be a bottomless pit in this country. You pay everything. I want to know from you, Mr. President, of this 783 charges that thanks to the DA taking you to court again and winning the case is back on the roll, will you commit to pay your own legal fees for these charges when you go to court ultimately? Thank you, Chairperson.
Mr. President.
The member must know, as I've just explained, the state pays for people who work. If such allegations are about what happened when people were at work or they were employed, they don't pay from their own pockets. They don't. And I'm not going to pay from my pockets and change from what are the rules.
You make the rules.
And the DA, if it is so sympathetic, it would not be taking people to court all the time. These are provoked by your taking people to court. You can't have the cake and eat it. Can't be. Just wasting our time, really, by asking the question that has been answered.
Honorable members.
Because we have nothing else to say that is substantial in any way. Yebo.
Honorable President, honorable members, we proceed to question number 6. That question, Mr. President, was put to you by the Honorable Nzimande.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you very much. A lot of progress has been made since the launch of Operation Phakisa. Since the launch of the Oceans Economy segment of Operation Phakisa, the investments that have been unlocked are worth about 25 billion rand, with a government contribution of 15 billion rand. Over 6,500 jobs have been created in the various sectors. Over 30% of these jobs are taken up by women, youth, and the persons with disabilities. The largest contribution to the total investment in the oceans economy was from infrastructure development mainly in our ports, manufacturing, and largely in boat building, aquaculture, and scientific surveys in the oil and gas sector, having been facilitated through government incentives. Skills development is a core component of the ocean's economy, in which women and youth are prioritized, especially in the marine transport and marine manufacturing sectors. Specialized Operation Pakisa training programs are taking place to assist communities around the ports of Cape Town, East London, and Durban. In the port of Durban, 24 apprentices from surrounding communities are receiving training at Transnet engineering depots in Durban. The apprentices are being trained to be qualified coded welders and wheelwrights. Also, the Marine Youth Development Program, which recruits unemployed young South Africans onto international cruise liners, has entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Eastern Cape office of the Premier to train 150 candidates from the OR Tambo and Buffalo City municipalities. Employment for local communities has been an important spin-off from the Oceans Economy Project. In the Eastern Cape, the Hamburg Community Project has employed 23 people from the local community to produce 20 tons of dusky carp fish per annum. More jobs are expected to be created in the aquaculture projects, focusing on women and youth and Black people in particular as part of radical economic transformation. With regards to future investments, the new Business Development Department of the Transnet Port Authority, working under the Oceans Economy, are busy identifying new business opportunities in the maritime industry. The Oceans Economy, Pakisa, also seeks to grow the boat building sector. The manufacturing of vessels has unlocked huge investments. The tugboat manufacturing project has unlocked 1.4 billion rand investment by the Transnet National Ports Authority in the Port of Durban. At an amount of 700 million rand has been earmarked for supplier development, empowering suppliers, youth and graduates. In the oil and gas sector, 6 production rights and 14 exploration rights have been issued. In addition, 2 technical cooperation permits have been issued, both of which are held by companies that are 100% owned by black people. More rural and local economic opportunities are planned for Kolocha in the Eastern Cape and Amatikulu in KwaZulu-Natal and other inland and coastal areas. As government, we will continue to work closely with our partners, especially the private sector, to attract investments that lead to economic growth and job creation through this important economic program. I thank you, Madam Chair. Thank
you, Mr. President. The Honorable Nzimande.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you to you, Honorable President. And that indicates and demonstrates that if you get quality question that requires relevant details and information for the public, you get likewise the same. My follow-up, therefore, Honorable President, is very small, is that given the squeeze that we are faced with in the whole world, not only South Africa, in the growth of economy, and it might require that government reprioritize, do you commit and ensure the public and the people that are benefiting, Honorable President, that this investment would not be abandoned? It would be sustained given the squeeze that I've referred to. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Nzimande. Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The oceans economy, as approached from the point of view of Operation Phakisa, has opened up a new area of economic activities. As I say, billions have been implemented as a result of this initiative. And we have opened up such huge potential that in no way can we abandon this approach. We will continue to ensure that we add and expand our economy through this particular approach that we undertook. It is indeed becoming attractive to many, and it is showing results in what we do. But as I say, particularly in the green economy or blue economy, we are very optimistic that our economy is going to grow bigger than ever before as we tackle the oceans economy. So we are not going to abandon it, we are going to extend it, we are going to make it a point that we invest hugely and ensure that throughout our coastal lines, as well as coastal cities and towns, we create these activities more to expand our economy. So rest assured, this in another decade will make South Africa look great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Smith. The Honorable Smith is on the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable President, will you please today confess that Operation Phakisa is actually a cover-up program to disguise the real profit hunting for the connected elite to consolidate their control over offshore oil and gas exploration and mining, to the detriment and cost of our environment and the welfare of our coastal and fishing communities. The Safeguard Our Seabed Coalition, SOSC, an alliance of non-governmental organizations, has warned that the marine phosphate mining would have severe and irreversible impact on the marine ecosystems and fishery resources and associated jobs, livelihood and food security benefits sustained by our fishing industry. Such rights have already been granted by the Department of Mineral Affairs. If you will not confess this and you truly want to enhance the ocean's economy through fishing, how do you intend on ensuring that all oceans economy industry is sustainable, especially with our dwindling fishing stocks? Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll never confess. There's nothing to confess. I don't know. That's a word just misplaced. Why should I confess? The whole world works on the ocean's economy. From time immemorial, the ocean has been one of the big areas of economy. It's nothing new. We've never worked on this like many other countries. We have been opening up this space that is being done by other countries as a country. And we believe in respecting the environment. We are one of the leading countries in the world in respecting our environment. We know what we are doing. I don't want to raise the issue of people who come to areas from somewhere else and believe that people in those areas don't know nature, they mess it up. It's not true. It's absolutely not true. You know, for an example, if you take hunting, some people believe that we were never careful about hunting. We hunted at a particular time, not when the animals had small ones. There were laws. But people who come from somewhere think that we were just not understanding nature. We lived with it at all material times. South Africa respect, in fact, we are one of the leading countries, not just one of the good ones, about respecting environment. So we are going to the ocean, we know exactly what to do. So there is nothing to worry about. Absolutely. Instead, we are going to grow the economy and increase our GDP, but also create more jobs. Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Dr. Matime.
Thank you very much, Chair, for this opportunity. Mohlomphehi mo Presidente wa Republic ya Afrika Borwa. Would I be correct in my understanding, considering the fact that this program is not an event, but it's a process? Would I be correct to believe that an institutional framework is being developed for the Oceans Economy Program to enable the multiple users of the same ocean space to use the space without being frustrated by bureaucratic procedures and lack of clear roles and responsibilities. Would my understanding be correct, President, that an institutional framework is being developed to ensure a smooth running of the program?
Thank you, Dr. Matime. The Honorable, the President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, you are absolutely correct. An institutional framework has been developed, very clear, taking into account all necessary things that need to be looked at. We are lucky because we are entering this blue economy at this time when technology has developed. So we are no longer going to commit mistakes that other people committed. So it is more smooth and clear. We know exactly where we're going. So we have no worries. We are absolutely correct. We are starting a kind of economy that is going to benefit the country without damaging nature or many accidents, because we have developed, the technology is on our side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last supplementary of the day goes to the Honorable Wana.
Enkosi Chairperson. Bengicela ubuza Mongameli. Ndivile ngokubiza ezindawo esezingathi noko sezihlomile kulento yoqoqosho. Ubize iKapa, wabiza iMonti, wabiza neTheku. Besicela ubuza ke njengoba ke napha eOR xa ugqitha use-OR usihla ubheka ngaseThekwini. Bengena ke kubekwe naMongameli ihaba encinci apha ePort St Johns. Ngoba xa unokhe ujonge ngokulandele ngokuyiChristmas abelungu bayaziba ezanto zethu selwandle ngoba lokho akukho nto ibonisayo uba igadwa njani obabutyebi bethu buphanga phakathi elwandle. Enkosi Mongameli.
Thank you, ma'am. The President. Order. Honorable President.
Siyabulela somlomo. Hayi, udaba lwase-Port St Johns nalo luqwalasela. Ayizuyekwa emva. Izafika lolu phuthiso luzafika naphaya. Kwenzeke konke okufuneka kwenzeke. Sifike exesheni ngoku lokuthi sijonga yonke lelizwe lakowethu, sijonga uba yintoni engenzeka apha ukwenzela ukuthi njengoba kwanda inani labantu, kwande nemisebenzi, kwande nendawo kuzosetshenzwa kuzo. iPort St Johns ke indawo ebaluleke gqithi. Yonke lolanxweme obekade lungenziwa nto, sizokwenza yonke into enhle phaya yokuthuthukisa noma ukuphuhlisa ubutyebi belizwe. Siyabulela.
Siyabulela Mongameli. Thank you.
All right, a very good afternoon and welcome to News Today, the second hour. I am Alisha Jad, and we've just brought you live proceedings straight from the NCOP in Parliament, where the President there was just responding to oral questions for the last time.